Without a doubt, I think, the biggest social movement of this year has been the Me Too movement. Women calling out men, they say, abused their power over them and raped or harassed them. And broadly, I think this movement, at least the ideals behind it, are good. Now, this movement really kicked off late last year with as many as 60 women, in the end, eventually denouncing Harvey Weinstein, the Hollywood producer. And it was a red-hot topic at this year's Cannes Film Festival. Here's actor Asia Argento, who said that she was among Weinstein's victims.
Even tonight, sitting among you, there are those who still have to be held accountable for their conduct against women. You know who you are.
But it was from about that point that it all went a bit sour. Argento herself was then accused in the New York Times of herself sexually assaulting an underage actor. A boy just 17, allegedly paying $380,000 to her own accuser, named Jimmy Bennett. Now, Argento denies there was any sex with this 17-year-old and says her late boyfriend paid the money to Bennett just to help him out of financial trouble. What a good heart. And in France, French film star Catherine Deneuve was one of 100 women who signed an open letter denouncing the Me Too movement. Deneuve said flirting wasn't a crime and Me Too had become a Puritan witch hunt that was sending men like pigs to the slaughter. So has this great social movement of the year left women stronger, or simply men feeling more hunted? And one of the first Australian writers on this subject was Arndt, who has just published a book of her essays over the years. It's called Men Too, although it's not just about Me Too, it's about the whole way that men and women today interact. And Bettina Arndt joins me now. Bettina, lovely to have your company. Listen, Me Too, weighing it all up, good, bad, how do you see it?
Oh, it started off addressing a really important issue, but I think it went totally off the rails. And unfortunately now is showing up women at their most vindictive and dangerous. The willingness of women to use really trivial issues to destroy men's careers has been just appalling to watch. And I hear endlessly from both men and women who are really disturbed about what's happened with this particular witch hunt.
What do you think's behind it? Like one of your essays in this terrific book, you've called it the latest attempt to crush male sexuality. What do you mean by that?
The suffragettes, first wave of feminists back in the 19th century, had a slogan, votes for women, chastity for men. And they openly declared their desire to rein in male sexuality. And we've seen wave after wave of that particular movement of, you know, back at the Playboys where magazines were in trouble for, you know, making women into sex objects, when men have been in trouble for the way they look at women. Any display of normal sexual interest or drive in men has been demonised over the years. And to me, #MeToo is just simply the latest example of that. It's nothing remotely new.
But would you say, you know, some would say, no, it's not about crushing male sexuality, it's about crushing male brutality. You know, we still want that whole flirting game, but there's got to be, you know, certain rules. You can't touch, harass, or whatever.
Who are making these rules?
Do you think those two things have got confused?
Totally. And who are making these rules? I mean, a lot of women like a man complimenting them, or still want men to look at us and see us as sexual creatures and like a bit of flirtation, a bit of banter. And yet we've got this tiny minority group, the feminists, who are determining how the rest of us should behave, and determining that on the basis of, to me, a very perverted idea about sexuality. One of my favourite stories involves a Canadian MP who said she was traumatised for 6 months after having a photo taken between two other members of Parliament, and one of the men joked, they're both men, one of the men joked, "This isn't the sort of threesome I had in mind." Now, here's a woman, a member of Parliament, who's elected to be, you know, to make decisions about her country, who cannot cope with that sort of sexual joke. And most people would think that's really weird, that a woman like that can hold herself up as someone capable of making decisions for the rest of us.
Yeah, look, whether or not you like the joke, it seems to me that a lot of this is predicated on the supposition that I sort of thought was a little dated, that women are much more fragile than the women's movement originally started out to say. You know, women hear me, men hear me roar, and all that kind of thing. It was really ballsy back then, but now I think we're invited to treat women as really precious petals. I don't like that.
Neither do most women like that. I mean, I've been speaking out about this for decades now, and I get enormous support from women, particularly older women like me, who once called ourselves feminists because we believed in equality, but we also believed women needed to stand up for themselves and be independent and strong and take control of our sexuality. We don't want to be constantly protected, and we don't want to see men as the enemy, and we don't want rules, regulations constantly tilted in our favour at the expense of men. And I just think there have been so many areas where feminists have done our society an enormous disservice in really constantly male bashing and making life extremely difficult for the men and boys in our society. And that's what I've been writing about. And, you know, the sexual stuff is only part of that.
Well, you mentioned that. You're quite right. One of the essays has got a wonderful title, Marriage Dud Deal for Men, The Power Shift. Can you explain that one?
Yeah, I think marriage has become a very dangerous deal for men. Look, it's extreme. Women have very high expectations of their marriages, their relationships these days. Very hard to keep women happy. And if they're not happy, men are in deep trouble, because we've absolutely presented women with an armoury of ways of destroying the man they're angry at when it comes to divorce. You know, false accusations of violence, you name it, could be used to get the man tossed out of his home, denied contact with his children, you know, get the woman a bigger hunk of the divorce settlement. I mean, it's a really worrying thing to me that marriage is so stacked against men, and I'm not surprised. We're seeing men going their own way. We're seeing a lot of men making the decision to stay away from us because we've proved how dangerous we are. And I'm really ashamed of women at the moment, we're showing ourselves in the worst possible light, I think. And it's no wonder men are very nervous.
Men are very nervous. Oh, well, look, thank heavens that some of us still know that marriage is not such a dud deal for us personally, although, my goodness, if it goes out of fashion, how sad I feel for the upcoming generation.
And very sad for children. I mean, because the most important thing about that institution is stability for children, and we know perfectly well what the consequences for children are of, you know, being raised in often poverty-stricken single-parent families. I mean, this is not good news, the instability of marriage. But none of this is good news.
Nearly a million children without one of their parents at home, and I know people divorce sometimes for good reasons or necessary ones, but the overall statistic I do think is rather sad. Bettina Arndt, recommend your book. Covers a whole journey of this fraught sexual politics. You go in bravely where others need a minefield clearer, but thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Andrew. I hope people will enjoy it.
Hi, everybody. This is Bettina Arndt, and I want to tell you that my new book, #MenToo, is finally on sale. Sorry about the delay, everybody. I've got a new small publisher and everything took so much longer than expected, which drove me totally crazy. I hope you'll get your pre-orders in time for Christmas. I'll put full details of where you can obtain the book in the low bar below this video and also on my website. But basically in Australia, you should be able to get it from good bookshops and newsagents, and it'd be a great help if you ask them to order copies. Otherwise, you can order it from my publishers, Wilkinson Publishing or Booktopia. Book Depository in the UK offers free postage worldwide, so that's probably best for people overseas. And the ebook is available from Amazon. #MenToo is a pretty comprehensive collection of all the men's issues I've been writing about for decades, including the topics I'm most passionate about, such as the distorted debate about domestic violence, the fake rape crisis on our campuses, #MeToo and the feminist crusade to crush male sexuality, why women go off sex, the importance of fatherhood, and the tilting of laws to favour women at the expense of men. Many of these are very serious topics, but don't worry, I'm pretty good at making things readable and entertaining. I hope you enjoy #Men2. And a very big thank you to all the people who've been supporting my videos for the last year. I gave up all my other work to devote myself to men's issues, so I'm really grateful for the steady stream of financial support I'm now receiving, and the fact that I'm getting some pretty big viewer numbers for my videos. It'd be wonderful if you could contribute. Every dollar does count. We're now using Patreon and PayPal. I'm putting the links for these in the low bar below this video and also on my website. I also want to thank everybody who's contributed to my fundraiser for my campus tour, which proved such a success in exposing how desperate the feminists are to promote the fake rape crisis. I have big plans for next year to continue the tour and do everything I can to stop the universities getting involved in adjudicating rape cases and targeting young men. It's been really exciting having so many people from all over the world volunteering to help me with my various campaigns. If you have skills and time to help, please contact me. But that's enough for right now. I'm taking a break for a few weeks, and I wish you all a really joyful Christmas. And let's hope 2019 sees a better world for all our wonderful men and boys.